It was a frigid December night in the Arctic Sea. Aboard the Scharnhorst, the forecast of harsh weather had everyone on edge. Battling fierce winds and towering waves, the German battleship pressed on, its crew risking detection with every radio transmission. Despite the severe conditions, they sailed northward, determined to intercept an Allied convoy. Unbeknownst to the crew aboard Scharnhorst, British intelligence had decrypted their communications, and Admiral Bruce Fraser's forces were converging. As dawn broke, Scharnhorst advanced, unaware that British cruisers, equipped with radar, were positioning themselves between the German battleship and the convoy. The storm raged, and the battle was about to begin. This month, my wife and I have been redecorating our home. The Mova globe has become the crown jewel of my study, where I write and animate these documentaries for House of History. From their distinctive graphics to their advanced technology, it only takes one look to realize Mova globes are something special. Imagine a globe that gracefully rotates, powered purely by ambient light, with hidden magnets resulting in smooth, battery-free movement. No batteries, no messy cords, just pure magic. Each globe features a high-quality acrylic outer shell that stays still, while an inner layer spins, using advanced magnets and solar cells for power. With over 40 designs in 3 different sizes, from intricate world maps to NASA outer space graphics, there's a Mova globe for every explorer. These globes make the perfect gift for the person who has everything. Elevate your space and spark curiosity. Visit the link in the description, discover the collection, and enjoy 10% off Mova globes with our exclusive code, HISTORY10. Following Germany's swift invasion of Norway in April 1940, the country's naval bases played an important role, especially after Germany's launch of Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union the following year. As the Allies initiated Arctic supply convoys to support the Red Army, Germany mobilized its powerful, albeit modest, surface fleet to intercept and destroy these convoys. One of the most famous of these warships was the Schlachtschiff Scharnhorst, a symbol of Nazi Germany's naval ambitions and engineering prowess. Named after Prussian General Gerhard Scharnhorst, it boasted impressive specifications, exceeding 31 knots, displacing nearly 40,000 tons fully loaded, and accommodating over 1,900 officers and men. Armed with 9 11-inch guns and robust armor, it was designed as a commerce raider, possessing considerable speed and endurance. Decisions made a decade earlier left Scharnhorst with inadequate 28-centimeter guns instead of the unavailable 38-centimeter. There remains some debate over its classification as either a battleship or a battle cruiser, as its potential as a naval asset was hindered by compromises, including the lighter main battery. Scharnhorst, launched in 1936, participated in early war operations, sinking HMS Rawalpindi in 1939. In April 1940, she supported the invasions of Narvik and Trondheim during Operation Weserübung, engaging HMS Renown. During Operation Juno in June 1940, Scharnhorst and her sister ship Gneisenau sank HMS Glorious and her escorts, sustaining torpedo damage. In early 1942, Scharnhorst executed Operation Cerberus, a daring dash through the English Channel. She faced damage from British bombings and mines, requiring repairs that limited its operational capacity. In February 1942, a British airstrike against Kiel Harbour permanently disabled Gneisenau, leaving Scharnhorst as the primary operational vessel. In early January 1943, Scharnhorst returned to service after extensive repairs and trials. She successfully sailed to Norway despite severe storms, arriving on 14th of March. Most of Germany's surface fleet had been knocked out by this point of the war, with only the Tirpitz and Scharnhorst surviving as powerful naval assets in that region. Together with battleship Tirpitz, Scharnhorst was utilized to disrupt Arctic convoys. However, the Allies were well aware of the danger these battleships posed to their convoys. In September 1943, the British launched a raid using X-class midget submarines to attack German warships in northern Norway. Tirpitz was severely damaged during Operation Source. The damage was so severe she was disabled for 6 months. This meant Scharnhorst was the only operational battleship in the north, and Germany's best chance at disrupting Allied convoys. In November 1943, Konter-Admiral Erik Bay was appointed as the commander of the Kriegsmarine's 4th Destroyer Flotilla and assumed responsibility of squadrons raiding against Arctic convoys. He soon realized the Allies had restarted their convoys to the Soviet Union, and in December, a Luftwaffe reconnaissance aircraft reported a convoy. Based on this information, the Scharnhorst, the only available serious warship, began preparing for its duty to intercept these convoys. A British convoy, protected by a robust escort, was indeed sailing towards Russia. Meanwhile, a westbound convoy successfully evaded German detection. The British Admiralty prepared for potential German actions, positioning cruiser forces along the route, ready to support the convoys if a major surface engagement ensued. Force 2, led by the battleship HMS Duke of York under Admiral Sir Bruce Fraser, set sail from Akureyri in Iceland, suspecting a potential sortie by the Scharnhorst. He had to traverse a much further distance than Scharnhorst to reach the convoy, and, at its top speed, his flagship sailed at 28 knots, 4 knots slower than Scharnhorst. Understanding his precarious situation, he broke radio silence and contacted a cruiser force further east, commanded by Vice Admiral Joseph Burnett, to rendezvous. German commanders deliberated but faced uncertainty. On Christmas Day, Admiral Dönitz gave the green light to attack. That evening, Scharnhorst and 5 destroyers, led by Rear Admiral Bay, began Operation Ostfront, maneuvering in Altafjord. Bay's instructions were to exploit tactical advantages and attack decisively. However, Bay was cautioned to disengage if faced with a superior enemy. As the British convoy made its perilous journey towards Russia, German naval intelligence mistakenly believed that the powerful HMS Duke of York and its escorting destroyers had returned to Britain with the empty convoy. This assumption led them to underestimate the threat posed by Admiral Fraser's force, which remained in the Barents Sea. Despite receiving ambiguous signals regarding a possible British covering force, as the Germans likely intercepted the radio message Fraser sent to Burnett, headquarters at Navy Group North deemed the information unreliable and did not pass it on to Admiral Bay, who was at sea leading the operation. At 8 p.m., Scharnhorst received a forecast of harsh weather, prompting Bay to radio his superiors, risking detection. Despite severe conditions, the German force continued, battling rough seas and strong winds. Sailing north with his force, he dispatched his destroyers to the west in order to increase his chances of catching the convoy. Meanwhile, Admiral Fraser received confirmation of the German sortie through British intelligence, decrypting German radio transmissions. Severe weather conditions, including gale-force winds and limited visibility, compounded the difficulties faced by both sides. The German destroyers, less capable in rough seas than their British counterparts, struggled to maintain course, losing contact with Bay, who was virtually on his own sailing north. As dawn broke, Scharnhorst advanced northward to intercept the convoy, while, unbeknownst to him, Admiral Burnett's cruisers and Admiral Fraser's Force 1 were converging on the German battleship from the west and east. Burnett's cruisers, equipped with radar, detected Scharnhorst and maneuvered to position themselves between the German battleship and the convoy. Bay's force continued sailing in harsh weather, struggling to locate the convoy based on outdated reconnaissance. At 7:30 a.m., Scharnhorst went to action stations as Bay figured the convoy was close by. In fact, the convoy was 100 kilometers northeast, evading detection. Soon after, as Scharnhorst searched northward, star shells from Burnett's cruisers. Belfast, Sheffield, and Norfolk illuminated the area. Burnett's cruisers, armed with only 6-inch guns, were left to confront Scharnhorst alone until reinforcements arrived. Norfolk, positioned ahead, fired 6 salvos, hitting Scharnhorst twice and catching Bay by surprise. The 3 cruisers attacked from the north, as Burnett had crossed Scharnhorst's T to position his cruiser squadron between the convoy and the Germans. Despite being unable to visually spot the light cruisers due to their use of flashless cordite powder, Scharnhorst returned fire without success. She made smoke to prevent more hits as its crew assessed the damage. Burnett's cruisers then maneuvered to position themselves between Scharnhorst and the convoy. She turned away to the southeast to disengage. One of the hits damaged Scharnhorst's radar antenna. Mechanics soon concluded it could not be repaired, leaving the Scharnhorst virtually blind in an already dangerous sea. Sailing without radar gave British ships a tactical advantage. Scharnhorst soon disappeared beyond radar contact. Bay then decided to change course and sail back north, hoping to intercept the convoy from the other direction. Bay's decision to sail north forced Burnett into a difficult position, as maintaining contact with the rapidly moving Scharnhorst was challenging. With Scharnhorst nearing the convoy's maximum range, Burnett chose to converge with Fraser and the convoy, prioritizing its protection. As Scharnhorst continued its advance northeastward, Admiral Bay, having lost contact with his destroyers, attempted to regroup them, but to no avail. The German destroyers, too far separated from Scharnhorst, were unable to catch up and never reunited with the flagship. Throughout the tense morning, with daylight barely penetrating the Arctic darkness, Scharnhorst pressed onward in search of the convoy. Meanwhile, Burnett, joined by the convoy's escorting destroyers, maintained a vigilant watch ahead, preparing to defend against any further threats from the German battleship. Despite potential misgivings, Bay received orders urging him to prioritize striking a blow against the convoy. The Germans were close to the cruiser's range. Just before 12:30, all of Burnett's cruisers unleashed a barrage at a range of roughly 9,000 meters, prompting Scharnhorst to retaliate, targeting HMS Norfolk due to her visibility. Scharnhorst's initial salvo hit Norfolk directly. One of her 8-inch gun turrets was destroyed. 7 crewmen were killed instantly, and 5 seriously wounded. The British cruisers continued relentlessly bombarding Scharnhorst, inflicting enormous damage. A shell hit one of the battleship's turrets, reducing its firepower. As the British ships closed in, Admiral Bay recognized the untenable situation and ordered a retreat to the southeast. The battle had lasted no more than 20 minutes. Thanks to his superior speed, Bay was able to get out of range soon enough. From a distance, Burnett's cruisers kept trailing the battleship. Amidst the respite, Scharnhorst's crew replenished their strength, but Bay remained cautious on the bridge. Mechanical issues caused Burnett's cruisers to fall behind, with eventually only HMS Belfast effectively shadowing Scharnhorst. Bay was unaware of his pursuer being heavily outgunned. Instead, at roughly 12:40 p.m., he radioed and reported that he aborted the mission. He planned to return to port safely. His destroyer squadron was much further north. Unable to find the convoy, they too returned to port, where they would arrive unscathed. As darkness fell, the Scharnhorst was closing in on their safe port at the Altenfjord. The mission had been a disaster, but fortunately, they survived relatively unscathed. Unbeknownst to them, Fraser's Duke of York closed in on Scharnhorst, her radar tracking the enemy's approach. Despite the urge to fire, Fraser waited for the optimal moment, ensuring Scharnhorst couldn't outrun his battleship. At 16:50, Belfast suddenly fired star shells to illuminate its position. Then, two enormous explosions rocked the German battleship's deck. At a range of 11 kilometers, Fraser had given the order to open fire. Bay was taken by surprise when battleship Duke of York and Jamaica suddenly unleashed their firepower, their precision gunnery causing havoc. Fraser had managed to reroute his Force 2 squadron and intercept the Scharnhorst, just as it thought it was safe. Its broken sea-tacked radar prevented the Germans from realizing they were sailing right into an ambush. It was Duke of York's initial 14-inch salvo, which hit Scharnhorst's forward turret and quarterdeck. Within minutes, most of the ship was covered in smoke, and its forward turret was disabled. Jamaica's subsequent salvo added to the onslaught, igniting fires that spread aft, prompting emergency measures to prevent explosions. Scharnhorst turned to the southeast in an attempt to evade the ambush. It was dark, and the only way Scharnhorst was able to orient its guns was by aiming it towards the naval gun flashes in the distance. Scharnhorst's retaliatory shells shook Duke of York's bridge, spraying the crew with water. As Scharnhorst attempted to outrun her attackers, her shells sliced through Duke of York's masts without detonating. One strike severed crucial radar wires, jeopardizing gunnery control. Still, another salvo by Duke of York hit two of Scharnhorst's turrets. Sustaining nearly crippling damage, Scharnhorst continued to the east, attempting to evade her pursuers. Scharnhorst was faster than all British ships, and it appeared like Bay would be able to evade them. But one of the previously fired shells damaged the boiler more than Fraser knew, and although she had the Brits at a speed advantage, this rapidly began dwindling. Before too long, Scharnhorst was cruising at 20 knots tops, and her pursuers caught up. Among the first to reach the battleship were Fraser's destroyers, battling the tempestuous seas. As Scharnhorst's speed faltered, they approached for a torpedo attack. In a final assault, Savage, Saumarez, Scorpion, and Stord launched torpedoes, with some finding their mark as Scharnhorsts attempted to evade them. In total, 28 torpedoes were launched, of which at least 4 hit the vessel. Then, Duke of York and Jamaica came within range again. German sailors from the crippled turrets carried the heavy 11-inch shells to the only working turret. But the British ships launched a renewed bombardment, igniting massive fires and incapacitating Scharnhorst's remaining turret. With her fate sealed, Scharnhorst's crew continued to fight on, but her speed dwindled to a crawl. For almost an hour, all ships launched their torpedoes and guns against the crippled battleship. Then, as Belfast closed in for another strike, a colossal explosion heralded the end of the German battleship, engulfing her in flames and smoke. Scharnhorst lay defeated as she capsized as a smouldering wreck. In total, Duke of York fired no less than 446 shells from her heavy guns and 700 from its secondary armament. The British cruisers fired over 1,000 shells altogether. Allied ships, including destroyers Belfast and Norfolk, began conducting rescue operations in the freezing Barents Sea, retrieving only 36 survivors amidst the bitter cold. Over 1,900 men perished with the sunken vessel, including Admiral Bay. Admiral Fraser commended Burnett's leadership, acknowledging the successful engagement and signaling a respite from further threats. He also made specific mention to his crew that the Scharnhorst and its crew fought valiantly, and he hoped that if the roles were reversed, his men would fight as tenaciously as the German sailors they had just beaten. With Scharnhorst's demise, the peril posed by German battleships to the Russian convoy routes finally ended, freeing up Allied resources for other naval priorities. The victory further tipped the scales in favor of the Royal Navy in the ongoing battle against U-boats, marking a significant blow to the German surface navy and cementing the Allies' dominance at sea. However, within several months, the mighty battleship Tirpitz sister ship of the Bismarck, was finished in the dockyard for her repairs. I created a 3-part documentary detailing the entire service history of the Tirpitz and the Allied raids launched against her. If you're interested in that, make sure to check that out after this video. A huge thanks to Mova Globes for making this video possible. Visit the link in the description, check out their great designs, and help out the channel. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please leave a like, it really helps out the channel. If there is a topic, battle, or person you would like to know more about, let me know your thoughts in a comment. I would also like to thank all my patrons and channel members for their generous support. If you enjoy House of History and you want to support my work, consider joining me on Patreon. For just $1 per month, you will already gain early access to all my videos without any in-video advertisements. Don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.